Welcome to the Trill MBA Show. I'm your host, Felicia Ann Rose Anuha, aka the Trillest MBA you will ever know. And I'm here to help you survive and thrive in corporate America by giving you the truth and being as real as only I can be. Happy Sunday, guys. Welcome back to the show. I'm so glad you decided to come back and continue this journey that we're on with how to win friends and influence people with Dale Carnegie. So today we have made it through the first two parts of the book, and now we're on part 3, which is titled How to Win People to Your Way of Thinking. Now, in this part of the book, there are 12 principles. So we're going to break this down 3 at a time. So this will be part 1 of section 3 of this book. So the first 3 principles are quite interesting because they're all around arguing. And when I tell you I struggled as I was preparing this deep dive, I was like, wow, how easy must it be for the person that wrote this book to move through life in this way? But I did take away some really good nuggets that I'm going to share today. But this whole, section is about influence. And influence is so important when you're working to grow your career. And it's hard. It's a struggle to be influential. So we're going to break down these first 3 chapters today. But first, Corporate Warrior Spotlight! Today's corporate warrior is just like, wow. She is a doctor and an MBA. Dr. Sharon E. Smith is the Vice President and Chief Medical Officer at Prudential Financial. For more than 20 years, Dr. Smith practiced internal medicine. Now she is employing her experience to run Prudential's Health and Benefits Center of Expertise. She provides guidance on all programs that support the overall health and well-being of Prudential employees and acts as consultative support to the internal businesses. Dr. Sharon attended Binghamton University for undergrad, Howard University College of Medicine for her MD, and Columbia Business School for her MBA. Ooh, child. And for all of y'all that are members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, she is your soror. Of course she is. Listen, I don't know Dr. Smith personally. I just think it's just very impressive to have an MBA and an MD. I just barely got this MBA, y'all, because listen, I was not really trying to go back to school. But I'm a Black woman. We love school. So Dr. Smith, or anybody who knows Dr. Smith, let her know we shouted her out. Keep doing the damn thing and trying to keep people healthy and getting people to do right by other human beings. That is awesome. And yeah, y'all, if y'all know somebody that would be a great candidate for the Corporate Warrior Spotlight, hit us up at ask@trilmba.com. And in the subject line, put Corporate Warrior Spotlight nominee, and I will shout them out on the show. So, alrighty, let's get into it. So, for this first principle in this section, how to win people to your way of thinking, the first principle is the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Now listen, some of y'all like, you ain't tell me twice. Because I understand. I'm living by the motto. Y'all know what the motto is. I'm living my best life. I'm not going back and forth with you niggas. Right? Shout out Little Duval. That should be the anthem all day, every day. Like, I'm living my best life. I'm not going back and forth with people. And I know a lot of times at work, people say, hey, you got to pick and choose your battles. But the Dale Carnegie School of getting these promotions says, this isn't the simple pick and choose your battles. This is put your weapons down and don't battle at all. Like, seriously, ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth it arguing with people and going back and forth and trying to prove yourself right? Because a lot of times we already know that we're right. Mm-hmm. You know you right. Why you gotta prove it? You don't. You don't have to prove nothing to nobody. Like, especially when you know you right and you know somebody full of it, there's no need to prove them wrong at all. And so what Dale Carnegie is saying is basically, you just want to avoid, like the plague, arguments. This is just, there's no winning. You can't win an argument is actually the title of this first chapter in this section. Because even if you win, say you do win the argument, then what? This person is now your adversary. Now they're going to spend a lot of energy trying to save face for themselves and try to prove you wrong at something else. So then it just becomes this thing. And it never had to be a thing in the first place if you just let them people have it. Sometimes, I'll speak for me. I won't speak for us in this instance. I'll speak for me. And y'all tell me if y'all feel this way. Sometimes I feel that I am in places that already I get the sense that I'm not respected. I get the sense that I'm not wanted there. I don't belong there, right? And the thing is, I'm good at what I do, number one. And then number two, I have a job to do. I want to do my job. And I want it done right. And what I'm learning in these past few years, and this lesson keeps coming up in different ways. It's very funny. But it's the same lesson. It's like, you don't need to be right to be right. In other words, you don't need for them to say you're right to be right. And when I think about so many times I tried to, argue for myself, and I'm not saying don't advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself, but advocating for yourself should never be in an argumentative way or a defensive way. Like, advocating for yourself is an entirely different scenario, an entirely different situation, and should always be done in a way that is uplifting and positive. So advocating for yourself isn't in the heat of a moment where somebody is coming for you, or you feel like somebody's coming for you, or you perceive that somebody is coming for you. And the reason why I say it in that way is that sometimes we feel people are coming for us and they're not, or at least that's not their intention. But the way that they have communicated something or positioned something, it would be easy for one to see that that person is coming for you. But what I have noticed is that it will quickly turn into, when you confront that in that situation, in that moment, you defend and confront, it quickly becomes, oh, you misunderstood, or oh, you're wrong. And then now you're in this fight to prove that you're right. Cut that, let that go. That's what I'm talking about. Let them say what they have to say. If somebody says something disrespectful to you, you say, okay, it's time for us to part ways for this time, and we will circle back to this at the appropriate time. Clearly, we need to let cooler heads prevail, and I'll set up some time with you one-on-one to talk about if y'all are in a meeting with people. I'll set up time with you one-on-one to circle back with this. But if we don't have any other agenda items, I'm going to drop off the call now. And you don't have to say why. You ain't got to explain yourself. You just get off the call, because you don't have to sit around and stick around for somebody to disrespect you. And I mean truly disrespect you. And you have to discern when it's true disrespect or if somebody is just, out of pocket. But I think we're all smart enough to understand the nuance in this and to move accordingly. And if you have some questions and you're wondering about some things, hit me up and we'll talk about it. Now, when we get back from the break, we're going to talk about the next section. And I will tell you that I suck at it. I do. It's bad when we get back from the break. Hey. How y'all doing? I hope you doing good. Guess what? Now I got this Patreon, right? Listen, the Patreon about to get lit. We now have a special Facebook group for the Patreon. We have made some special guides for the Patreon patrons. Like, if you are a $15 Patreon, you are getting some, you're getting stuff for the cheap. So listen, I want to shout out all the people who have been Patreons with me, rocking with me for the past year. I'm excited to bring out some dope content. If you have not signed up to be a $15 Patreon, I'm telling you, we're doing monthly meetups and we're connecting and networking, blessing each other with all this good knowledge. Listen, I probably need to join the Patreon myself because I got a lot out of our last session. And so I'm just excited to watch this group of people grow their careers, and just create this Patreon mastermind with the Trill MBA. So if you are looking for a place where you can come together with like-minded individuals that are looking to grow in their careers and they're doing the damn thing, then come on and join the Patreon so that you can get all this good knowledge. It's going to be great, y'all. Okay, I'm so excited because we've been really working on some things. So your chances now. We're getting ready to send out the registration for the Patreons who are Patreons starting in June 1st. So they'll get the June invite, and I'm really excited. So sign up before May ends so you can get the invite and all the goodies. And, hit me up if you think of anything you need. If you're a Patreon member, hit me up. Let me know. I'm really excited to create this Friends Affair. I stole that from a friend of mine, but I love it. So I appreciate everybody supporting the show. And on that note, let's get back to the show. All right, and we are back. Now, I have a confession, y'all. I am very principled. And what that means is I'm very black and white in my thinking. Now, as I get older, I start to feel okay the fact that there's a lot of gray to life and situations in all aspects of life. I do not like it. Either it is or it isn't. I don't know why there's this in-between things. It just drives me nuts. But because of that, I can get really unfocused in my diplomacy. And that's what this chapter is all about. And I am not the most diplomatic person because in my mind, either it is or it isn't. And in this chapter, Dale Carnegie, he talks about being diplomatic. And I'm just like, why I got to be diplomatic? Why can't I tell somebody they wrong? If they wrong, they wrong. But the principle in this chapter is show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say you're wrong. And I will say, when it comes to an opinion, what they say, opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one. I hope everybody has an asshole. Though it's tragic if you don't. Sorry. But yeah, everybody's got an opinion. I'm starting to learn, though, this construct of right and wrong. Who says how, for, why? So this is really one of those practices of self-awareness. And you have to step back and you have to ask yourself, are you inflexible in your opinions? Are you open to seeing other sides? Because in order to be diplomatic, you have to find where, I see how that person sees that, or I see how that person thinks that way. Doesn't mean you agree with it. Doesn't mean it's right. They're right. Doesn't mean you're right. Doesn't mean they're wrong. Doesn't mean you're wrong. It just really is about what good comes of it if you are telling all these people they're wrong. The other thing that was very interesting in this chapter was this story that he told about these Confederate whites, about Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis. And I was just like, this is nuts. But apparently these two did not like each other. I don't know much about this history of these Confederate people and things because it's hard enough being Black without going and reading about these people. But I will say that I thought was very interesting because, the story goes, Robert E. Lee spoke to the president of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis, in the most glowing terms about a certain officer under his command. So another officer in attendance was astonished. "General," he said, "do you not know that the man of whom you speak so highly is one of your bitterest enemies who misses no opportunity to malign you?" And then General Lee said, "Yes, but the president asked my opinion of him. He did not ask for his opinion of me." And so how many times does that happen at work, right? Where somebody asks you, "What's your opinion of such and such?" And such and such hates you, hates you. And you probably hate them too. But this is why I tell people, don't ever talk bad about your coworkers at work, right? This whole thing, and it's fascinating, but it works because now this guy is looking at him wow, this guy talks so bad about you, but you said all these nice things about him. So now who looks bad? The person that says all the bad things. Why are you saying all these bad things about Felicia? Because this is what she said about you. And she said you were this and great and that and great and great. And why are you saying all these horrible things about her?
Wow.
And you know what the fun part is? When that person hears that you've spoken so highly of them, not only do they then feel embarrassed, but now their hands are tied because now they look like an asshole if they continue to talk bad about you. And at best, they won't talk bad about you to the person that you told, good things about them to. That person that's talking bad about you is now going to be forced to shut the fuck up.
Will you shut up?
So this is why it's just best to let people live, say whatever they want to say. If they want to talk bad about you, let them talk bad about you. But always find something good to say about people. Always be super positive. And then you get in the text stream with your girlfriends and you're like,
y'all, this motherfucker right here. Let me tell you what this motherfucker said today. I can't stand his motherfucking ass.
Right? Like, that's what your girls are for, right? That's what your friends are for outside of work. But like the energy you need to have at work is like,
oh, Bob, yeah, he's great. You know, he let me know about this and he did this great thing and it was awesome and just great.
I know, it's annoying. And I'm working on this thing, right? I'm working on this whole diplomacy. Use a little diplomacy. That's how this chapter ends. And I'm just like, I just want to call a spade a spade. I just want to be like, no, you're a bitch. I do, like, deep down in my spirit. I just want to call people out on their shit. But I think what I'm having to do is say, okay, you call people out on their shit, then what? And then what happens when they call you out on your shit? Then what? It's not gonna feel so good. That's what I thought. So I had to take a step back recently and think through some things. And it was funny because I actually was talking to one of my coworkers and I told him point blank, I was like, yeah, okay, I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. Even though somebody else got something wrong, I felt a certain kind of way before I knew they were wrong. And then they came back and was like, oh, my bad, I was wrong. And I was all riled up based on the original information. And then I got new information. I was like, oh, well, I was wrong. I didn't need to be all riled up. Okay, we're good. And it's funny, but my coworker said, wow, that's really big of you to say you were wrong. And I was like, how's that big of me? Didn't make sense to me. But then I was like, reading Dale Carnegie. And so when we get back from the break, I'm going to explain to you, based on this next chapter, how awesome it was for me to say I was wrong when we get back from the break. Hey guys, listen, did you know that if you send me a listener letter at ask@trilliumba.com, and it's got to be a good listener letter though, and I read that listener letter aloud on the show, you get a free coaching call. Did you know that? Yes. So I know sometimes some of y'all look at the cost of the coaching call, which is worth every penny if you let all my clients tell you. And you're like, well, Felicia, I can't really afford that. Well, here's an opportunity for you to get a free coaching call. But you got to send me a listener letter and I got to read it on the air. So get to writing, girls. Just kidding. No, listen. I want to start workshopping some of your problems on the show. That's my goal. So I'm looking for listener letters. Happy to chat with you about the listener letter before I even bring it up on the show and bring it on the air. So definitely want to get a breadth of situations and start talking through, what things we're going through specifically so that we can talk through language you need to use, body language, how you need to show up, how you need to think through the chess moves of navigating your workplace, because that is so key. So if you have a listener letter, hit me up, ask@trilliumba.com. In the subject line, write listener letter, and I'll get back to you. All right, now let's wrap up the show. Okay, guys. So it's time for the most important thing. So now, I hinted at the third chapter, but I want to be clear about what it is. The third principle in chapter 3 of this part is, if you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. And that's what I did with my coworker. And when I was prepping for this show, I remember I was like, oh, look at me, just ingrained. Just the book is, I've got it inside me now. I read it so much. But I think I've just always easily said, hey, I was wrong. Like, I'm real quick to say I'm wrong. Like, I've been like that since I was a kid. But the funny thing is, like, the reaction I got. But even in that situation, I realized, like, I need to stop fighting for things to be right. I need to just sit back, not panic. And I think a lot of times, if you guys are like me, when I perceive that something might go wrong or might go off the rails with one of my projects, I'm quick to be like, and I'm ready to fight. And I learned recently, like, no, nigga, sit down, be quiet. Let it play out. Just document. Stop fighting. If it go wrong, you know it wasn't you. You know that was on them. And the funny thing was, when it came back, it was like, oh no, I had that wrong, my bad. I was like, I'm over here panicked. Like, legit panic. And all the while, wasn't even the right information. I got my blood pressure up for what again? Not a goddamn thing. Nothing. And that's when I realized, just stop fighting. You put in email your point of view, so you have that documented that I told y'all, I said what I said. And if they want to do something different, or they're doing something different, or they're going in another direction, hey, no harm, no foul. That ain't on you. Because you told them that ain't what they were supposed to do. But they didn't want to listen to you. Hey, your name ain't on that building. Your name isn't, on the company. Like, you don't own this. You just work here, okay? This ain't yours. I know they want you to think it's yours. They want you to take ownership. Take ownership of your work. Bullshit. That ain't your project. You just a steward of it. You don't own that. This ain't your company. You just work there. You deliver value and they pay you a paycheck. You don't own that, okay? So stop fighting. And that's more for me than y'all. I'm just gonna put that out there. Not fighting no more, y'all. It is what it is. Now, if you need some help or advice about a specific situation, go to trulandba.com/coaching to schedule a 45-minute consultation with me to strategize and walk through your specific work situation. In addition, you can always email at ask@trulandba.com. I'm happy to either answer your question or connect you to the right person if I don't have the answer. Again, that's trulandba.com/coaching to schedule a 45-minute consultation with me, or ask@trulandba.com to submit your question or concern, or if you just want to tell me how much you love the show. I love getting those emails, guys. Keep them coming. So listen, if you do nothing else this week, please enjoy your weekend. Please take your day off. Please, 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 please. Okay, get some rest, enjoy, refresh yourself. And then when you go back, don't fight it. Just let them people do what they gonna do. You just do the best you can, and you go home and you sleep well at night. Okay? And until next time, guys, keep it trill. The Trill MBA Show is a Fair World Corp LLC production. Executive produced by Felicia and Rose Inuha. Sound design and editing by Chris Mann with Podshaper. Theme music is Kick Push by Ryan Little. Keep it trill every day, y'all.